Imagine waking up and seeing XRP rocket towards $20, while the rest of the crypto world and Wall Street are just scrambling, while Ethereum holders are panicking. Meanwhile, a silent force reshapes the entire digital money game right under everyone's noses while everyone's distracted. Well, today, XRP's story moves far beyond another target price conversation. This is about power. This is about who builds the global rails for global finance into the future. It's about who controls liquidity and who gets left behind. The headlines all over the world, all over the media, keep shouting about Bitcoin, maybe Ethereum too. But beneath the surface, there's another playbook unfolding. Right now, a single catalyst is aligning all of Wall Street like an orchestra. Central banks, stablecoins, the world's largest financial institutions move quiet. But when these pieces lock together, the impact will be felt in every single portfolio long before mainstream figures out what happened and what's changed. This moment in time marks the turning point. So let's pull back the curtain on the hidden catalyst that could launch XRP past Ethereum and trigger a seismic shift in crypto. Whether you love XRP or don't, are holding it or are not, this video deserves your attention because it's going to be a major mover this bull run. So you need to know how it will affect you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start with what almost or virtually no one is talking about, what everyone's missing. On July 14th, the US Federal Reserve officially upgraded their FedWire, the backbone for trillions in daily payments. What is also called the ISO 20022 or the 20022 messaging standard. And I understand most people will hear ISO 20022 and their eyes are just going to glaze over. But here's the deal. This upgrade is like tearing up the old train rails and laying down new and upgraded infrastructure and railing for the entire US payments system to be able to operate on. It's engineered for instant global money movement, which of course is perfect for digital assets that can actually keep up. And XRP is already compliant. It is already ISO 20022 ready. The tech is built for these rails. And as the technicals line up, so does the price action. Right as these rails go live, XRP is lighting up the chart. The price just broke out from a multi-month range, surging above $2.80 and posting its first weekly close at these levels since 2021. The chart shows a solid support foundation built around this $2.60 zone, and the momentum is shifting with every session. Top TA analysts now talk about price discovery, new all-time highs on deck, with $3 and $4 targets for the near term. This is a textbook setup for the kind of explosive move that only happens when the technicals and the narrative both align and converge. The last time we saw a pattern like this, XRP exploded out of consolidation and stunned everyone who wasn't paying attention. It's just like the setup before XRP's 2024 explosion, when it shot from 60 cents to over $2 in 2 weeks. After 7 years of accumulation. Now, institutions have another catalyst to chase. The NYSE ARCA just approved the ProShares Ultra XRP ETF. The ticker is UXRP for trading. This is the first US XRP ETF, and it opens the floodgates for a new wave of institutional capital and investment. With the rails in place, volume rising, and price discovery starting, XRP's breakout moment has arrived. or the setup for it anyway. But this first surge is just the tip of the iceberg. We're just getting started. Behind the price candles, a deeper current is moving. Governments, banking giants, and a new digital engine could put XRP into heights it's never been before. Now let's talk about a controversial topic. I addressed this briefly in yesterday's video, and it's coincidental because this is also the crypto week on Capitol Hill, where they're voting on all of the different bills and acts I discussed in yesterday's video. But as it pertains to XRP, XRP is actually positioned to be the CBDC, or the central bank digital currency's backbone or key partner, which is highly controversial. And I don't support this actually, but it's going to happen. We know that all the nation states of the world basically are going to be considering getting their own central bank digital currency. And Ripple appears to be a great partner for this and aligning to benefit from this movement that's happening right now globally. Right now, Ripple has actually announced partnerships with over 10 central banks to help build out digital currencies for entire countries. We're talking about Bhutan, Colombia, Montenegro, the country of Georgia, each piloting digital money on Ripple's rails. And why does this matter aside from what I mentioned just a moment ago? It matters because every country rushing into CBDCs need a way to connect their digital currencies globally. Traditionally, banking can't do that. So XRP is taking a different angle because while every other crypto project is trying to compete with central banks, right, become their own main form of a currency, XRP is aligning with them and enabling them instead. It's, as you often hear, it's easier to go with the stream than upstream, and XRP appears to be doing this. So Ripple has launched its dedicated CBDC platform in May of 2023 to help central banks manage their digital currencies from creation to circulation. They're like an incubator, basically. The Saudi Central Bank, also known as the SAMA, has tested Ripple's technology for modernizing remittances, while the Bank of Thailand, I just left Thailand, has collaborated with Ripple to assess distributed ledger technology-powered cross-border settlements. And here's the massive opportunity. With over 80 central banks globally exploring CBDCs, representing huge potential multi-trillion-dollar digital currency ecosystems. When you then get countries like China and the EU and the US, who knows, launching their own CBDC, which we know is being debated this week. When countries like these launch their currencies, they'll need a way to transact with each other seamlessly, right? Well, welcome XRP. Because XRP is positioning itself as the universal translator, the global settlement layer for the next era of digital money and digital transactions. That's the real prize. So it's a long-term bet. You can't think of your XRP if you're holding some, and I'm not telling you to go buy some. I'm just telling you it's a monster, and I'm telling you what this monster's plans are and how it's aligning with all the other giants in the world and their financial economic systems. So if you are holding some, you have to think of it as a long-term plan and game, okay? It's not a short-term, quick flip, pump and dump type of a strategy you should be taking with your XRP if you're holding some. Because we see even the World Economic Forum has named Ripple a top blockchain innovation cross-border payment system. And this is just the government side. The private sector side with big banks and asset managers are building on Ripple too. And the numbers are only getting more wild. So now let's talk about Ripple's stablecoin and its stablecoin's recent explosive growth, known as RLUSD. It recently, as I was mentioning earlier, skyrocketed past $50 million in its market cap in just a few months, putting it among the world's top 20 stablecoins. But here's what makes RLUSD different. Every transaction burns XRP for fees, which means RLUSD isn't just growing, it's directly fueling XRP demand. Adoption outpaces early projections. With nearly $1 billion in monthly transfer volume, Ripple's playbook is clear. Get institutions comfortable with RLUSD, And soon, XRP becomes the engine for their liquidity. RLUSD targets the 685 billion global remittance market, tacking fees that eat up 6% or more on every transfer. Just think about how enormous that is. So now let's talk about real adoption numbers. Here is what the "it's just a hype" crowd misses when it comes to XRP. Because by 2025, by this year already, we're seeing over 20 banks and payment providers using XRP's on-demand liquidity in production. Real quarters, real money, all live today. More than 100 banks have already piloted it. BNY Mellon, America's oldest bank, now holds Ripple stablecoin reserves in custody. Bank of America, Santander, and more than 80% of Japanese banks have already begun integrating Ripple's technology for cross-border payments. So it's already started, guys. We also see MoneyGram processes live remittances over Ripple's net. XRP enables international payments that settle in seconds, with transactions that cost the end user, you and me or whoever's using it, less than a penny, all while traditional payment systems take days and eat away value with higher fees. So you see how a bigger move, a bigger agenda and plans are brewing on the institutional side, which is a play that has the potential to reshape Ripple's entire valuation overnight. Now let's talk about Ripple's IPO, the Wall Street multiplier. Circle's IPO drew a line out the door, oversubscribed 25-1. With BlackRock and ARK Invest joining the rush. Circle launched with a $5.7 billion valuation. Now keep in mind, Circle was the most successful IPO in years, with the stock going almost 5 times higher in a matter of days. This was just a wake-up call on how much pent-up demand there is for stablecoin growth exposure on Wall Street. We actually hear from John Deaton, a crypto lawyer, stating and projecting that a $100 billion Ripple IPO is not far-fetched when we factor in Ripple's massive XRP holdings and its institutional reach. Ripple just launched a $700 million share buyback at $175 per share, implying a $25 billion private valuation. While CEO Brad Garlinghouse says that an IPO isn't a 2025 priority. He acknowledges it usually takes 12 months from priority to public once decided. But don't watch the headlines for when the IPO will be announced. Watch the XRP chart, as the market will likely begin to show signs and start to rally ahead of the actual announcement. This is the way it works. And if Circle's IPO drew this much attention and heat, imagine the rush when Ripple goes public, with bigger partnerships, more banking adoption, and a native token directly tied to real utility. It's a sleeping beast, in my opinion. And all the data points to it as well, so I'm not just saying it. So now let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about XRP's competitors. Who are its competitors? First off, we have Ethereum, of course. We know Ethereum is a giant. We know it's the original layer 1, so to speak. We know institutions and mega funds all over the world are massively investing into Ethereum and Ethereum's ETFs. But we also know that when its gas fees were slashed with its last upgrade, the Denkun upgrade, so were ETH's deflationary mechanics. ETH's supply is up and regulatory uncertainty for DeFi lingers. The next major competitor for XRP is Solana. And yes, it's leading on crypto native adoption. I made a whole video on Solana actually a few times now, but let's not forget the outages. Centralization concerns with expensive hardware requirements for validators and volumes that are heavily dependent on retail meme coin trading. Now, I personally love Solana, but these are some facts that we have to also mention if we are to be logical about this. All while XRP, on the other hand, connects with more than 300 financial organizations worldwide, achieving 3-second settlement times and delivering pennies and fees to its users. Global banks, as I've mentioned, and payment providers have embraced RippleNet. XRP's market focus centers on banking and payments, building institutional trust and driving adoption at scale. I have to emphasize Ripple's ability to navigate the TradFi world of central banking and Wall Street bureaucracy. They really are setting the standard for landing partnerships and pilots that have the potential to move trillions of dollars, while most competitors fight to capture smaller crypto native interest. But there is space in the market for everyone, and there are different angles, of course. There's B2B plays and more of a retail approach. And so to everyone, their own in terms of the types of investments they're looking to make. So I don't mean to hate on Solana or Ethereum. I'm holding both, and I see the use cases for both, but XRP is tremendous. And at the time of recording this video, XRP trades around $2.91 with $172 billion circulating market cap, and Ethereum, a $368 billion market cap. XRP only needs to hit $6 to flip Ethereum versus $40+ to flip Bitcoin. And it's really when it comes to the institutional adoption curve that is where it gets very interesting. If Ripple hypothetically secures a 50+ central bank partnership, we could see a possible $10 to a $20 XRP. Even conservative estimates show massive upside if XRP captures just 1% of the 150+ trillion annual cross-border payments market. Now, I want to be clear. That would mean Ripple 5x's its current central bank partnerships and continues leading adoption on Wall Street. So we assume it will in these calculations. And while nothing is certain in crypto and in the world in general, there is no denying that they are way ahead of most competitors in both arenas. Another less tangible part of my thesis comes down to the typical altcoin rotation we've seen in past rallies. So take a look at this great chart I found by Damsco Trades on X, showing how Bitcoin led the rally in 2024, followed by major large cap alts, which was then followed by altcoins outside the top 10. Think about where the market is now. Step 1, Bitcoin breaks out and leads the rally. We're starting to see this. Step 2, major alts follow, right? That value flows out from Bitcoin into the top altcoins. And we've also started to see Ethereum and some of the bigger blue chips start to move higher as well. But we've definitely not seen any explosive legs higher as we've seen in past rallies. So we know that is still yet to come. We're seeing the beginning signs of that. So we are now, I would say, at the start of phase 2, where large cap altcoins will follow after Bitcoin resolves much higher. Another thing I want to mention as well is retail loves bidding dinosaur coins like XRP and Cardano. Why? No one really knows why. Some say it's their cult-like following, or maybe just because these are the names they are familiar with, which makes sense, of course. We don't need to know why it happens. We just have to be positioned knowing that the market has muscle memory, or that history tends to repeat itself. And all we have to do is position ourselves to take advantage of these patterns most likely repeating themselves. With retail, or the 99% that has not come back into the crypto market yet, most likely to be entering into these tokens first. So now let's talk about the risks. The Ripple team and its founders control a significant share of XRP's total supply. Whenever they move tokens, the market watches closely. Up to now, every instance of selling has been absorbed immediately by the market, but this concentration remains a key factor to track for anyone holding XRP. Because if they sell a lot for whatever reason, it could hypothetically tank, right? Or have a huge effect on your holdings. Now, mind you, as you know, the founders and like the key as the key founders and holders of XRP, they have every possible reason to want to hold their token holdings to secure the price, because that's their baby, right? And their retirement, most likely. So they are, at the same time, while they do hold so much power, it's also in their best interest to hold that power and not tank their own project. So you can see both sides. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. Now, with regulatory clarity in place, even though Ripple initially, did all this head start work and building partnerships with central banks, etc. That's fantastic. They have, first movers advantage, so to speak. But as I was saying, this is Crypto Regulation Clarity Week, basically, on Capitol Hill. Listen to history once again. It tends to repeat itself. So there is the first mover that takes first mover's advantage, but there are always competitors that pop up and try to do what you're doing, but do it better. So that is something that we have to keep our eyes open for, and that could potentially happen. We could see new players step up and challenge Ripple's lead and target the same opportunities in global payments and settlements. CBDCs may change global liquidity flows and shape demand for bridge assets. Competition, actually, from Stellar and legacy banking technology brings ongoing challenges as well. Shifts in regulation across different countries set the pace for future digital asset adoption. So right now, this moment we're living brings every major catalyst together for XRP. Regulatory clarity on one end, new payment rails through the Fed's Reserve's ISO 20022 upgrade, BY Mellon's move to custody stablecoin reserves, and the central banks' worldwide race to launch their own CBDCs or digital currencies. So you see how institutional adoption accelerates and is accelerating as these rails lock into place and the narrative shifts from speculation to real financial infrastructure. XRP's story now mirrors legendary infrastructure plays. When Amazon built AWS, most people ignored the quiet revolution behind the scenes. Visa's payment rails worked in the backdrop until the world ran its commerce on them. XRP's global network is growing with every new partnership, every remittance corridor, and every institutional on-ramp. Rails are being built in real time for the new era of money, and the network effect strengthens with every transaction. This moment sets the stage for what could be the next biggest shift in cross-border payments in decades. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you gained value in this deep dive. Let me know what you thought, what your opinions are. If you're holding XRP, why or why not? Also, I just ask you to subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so that way you know and keep informed when I drop new videos. And then of course, just hit the notification bell because it lets you know when I drop new content. And if you're not invested in XRP or are not interested, let me know who you are watching. Which other major crypto token solving a similar problem of cross-border payments has the upper edge? Drop your thoughts in the comments once again, and let's get the best research out to the whole community. As you know, I'm going to be rolling out a unique alpha channel on my Telegram where we're going to be sharing alpha like this, what we're watching, why, our unique take on it, technical analysis, breakdown, everything that we need to know to be successful this bull run. And then of course, remember, these videos are for educational purposes. Okay, you have to do your own research. That's also something I'm going to be teaching in my course. So stay sharp and never risk investing more than you can afford to lose. That's like the golden rule in crypto. But okay, guys, that's a wrap. I love you very, very much. And I'll catch you guys in my video tomorrow. Cheers.